Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside LSU Baseball. I'm your host, Jason Armstrong, and the Tigers are going to Omaha. What an awesome accomplishment by this 2025 baseball team. Just been such a joy watching this team compete all year. And, it really starts before the year. You go back to last year, the week after LSU's eliminated in Chapel Hill, you're looking for the tiger emoji tweets on Twitter from Coach Jay Johnson. You're starting to look at the transfer portal pickups, starting to pay attention to the draft, which players are going to be leaving, what players in the high school class are going to potentially maybe get to campus. All of that stuff has been a blast. Thought from the very beginning that this roster was the best job of construction that Jay Johnson's done. And it hasn't always been perfect, but anytime you can go to Omaha, look, this is a huge accomplishment that you cannot take for granted. 20th time in LSU's history. And so, somebody's got to go win it. Why not us? So we're going to touch on today. Just take a look at the super regionals, highlight some players. I want to get into the World Series feel, how that's shaping up, as well as maybe look at some of the younger talent and looking ahead to next year, why I'm so excited about that, as well as talk about some controversy surrounding the West Virginia coach and the way that they maybe handled things in the Super Regional. So let's start with a quick recap. So LSU goes into the Super Regional weekend, and I think most people thought that LSU was going to pull it out. They were a heavy favorite, but you still had a lot of people. There was some doubt still, I think, about LSU, which I don't really understand. It's one of the most consistent teams in the country all year long, and I understand that West Virginia was a very good offense, and they were very scrappy, but beating LSU 2 games at Alex Box with the 2 starters that they have and the way that LSU hits was just proved to be too much for West Virginia. So LSU finishes off the Mountaineers in 2 games with wins of 16-9 and 12-5. They run their overall total record on the year for 48-15. They're 2 wins away from a 50-win season. That's a really good, impressive season. West Virginia pitching allowed 17 bases on balls. They hit 8 batters. The defense committed 4 errors, and that's along with some additional misplayed fly balls, drop fly balls. I think the second baseman had a couple, some sloppy, just all around defense. It just really looked like Alex Box got to this West Virginia team, which was surprising because it's a veteran team. It's full of veterans. Team that was in the Super Regional last year and returned a whole lot. But that heat, the crowd just made a big difference. And LSU, I think, was impressive. And at a time when I think most would say that the strength of this team is their starting pitching. Really, the starting pitching wasn't great this weekend. So we'll talk more about it. But let's look at game 1. Derek Curiel was 3 for 3 with a 3-run homer, 5 RBIs. Shortstop Stephen Milam and Josh Pearson each launched grand slams and really just powered this Tiger offense in game 1. The 16 runs were all earned runs. They came off just 8 hits, albeit they were, big hits, but just 8 hits. Cade Anderson ran his record at 10-1. He earned the win on Saturday. He worked 7 innings. He allowed 7 runs, 6 earned, 9 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He threw 113 pitches, and it was very hot. Look, this was probably Cade Anderson's worst statistical performance of the year. But pitching with a 10-1 lead, I believe starting the 6th inning, that's a different type of deal than a 3-0 lead. So in that scenario, you're not going to nibble. You're going to make them hit the ball. And we kind of did that, dared them to hit it. They had, I want to say, they scored maybe 4 runs in the 6 innings, and then they scored 2 more off of a home run, I believe it was, in the 7th to cut that lead down. But LSU just kind of ran away with it. Griffin Kern, West Virginia's pitcher, just he was wild. I think he hit a couple of batters. Just wasn't himself. It was surprising to see the way that they handled the bullpen. I thought that they would want to try to ride him as long as can be. And we'll talk more about the way that they handled the bullpen in that game one. It was kind of had me scratching my head. But again, 8-hit attack. Pearson had 2 hits. Jones did have a hit that was big. Curriell with the 3 hits. Stanfield had a big hit, drove in 2 RBI. So story game one, were the 2 grand slams. And Derek Curriell from the jump just showed he was going to continue that postseason upward trend. So game 2, shortstop Monster Milam and right fielder Jake Brown each drove in 4 runs, leading LSU to a 12-5 win. LSU grabbed a 1-0 lead in the top of the first. Brown delivered on an RBI ground out, and then the Tigers struck for 5 runs in the second to extend the margin to 6-0. This was another one of those rain delays. The game gets delayed very late, and you wonder, can LSU take care of business tonight? We don't want to play Monday. We don't want to go to a game 3. You're worried about who's LSU going to use out of the bullpen first, what happens if West Virginia wins? Then you got, do you throw Case and Evans game 3 or do you use them? It looked like none of that was going to matter because the way that LSU just really just jumped all over them. Getting out to, what was it, a 6-0 lead. You had Milam hit a 3-run double. Brown and Jones both had RBI singles. I believe that was in that second inning. West Virginia battled back. Look, you got to give them credit. They got to within 2 runs in the 5th inning. We went to the 7th inning. It was a 6-4 lead. LSU then went crazy for 6 runs in the 7th inning when Chris Stanfield slapped a 2-run single. Milam lined an RBI double. Brown smashed a 2-run homer over the center field wall. So LSU's got a 12-4 to lead. And then just, it was kind of over from there. Ianson improved his record to 11-2, earning the win. He worked 5 innings. He limited the Mountaineers to 4 runs on 5 hits with 3 walks, 7 strikeouts on 104 pitches. He struck out the first 4 batters of the game and looked unhittable. But he really, he wound up laboring a bit. It was almost like he started off with that sharp breaking ball. I was wondering, is this a splitty? Is it a slider? I think the speed tells you it's a hard slider. He had them chasing it in the dirt with 2 strikes. He was striking everybody out. And then later in the game, he started going to that get me over curveball, and they started hitting it. And even with 2 strikes, I was kind of perplexed why he wasn't going back to that out pitch that looked like a fastball out of his hand and then had that sharp breakdown in the dirt that they were whiffing on early in the game. But for whatever reason, it was still a gutsy outing. Again, a gutsy outing. It was very hot. He had to be replaced, I believe. What inning was it? I think he hit the leadoff batter in the 6th inning, and that's when Cooper Williams came in. My goodness. Y'all already know how I feel about Cooper Williams, but him and Chase Shores worked the final, I think it was 2 2/3 innings. They allowed just 1 run. It was the only hit gave up was a really long home run. Cooper Williams hung a breaking ball to Reinhardt. Shores worked 1 1.3 innings, and I think he had 3 strikeouts. So that was great to see. The way that Cooper Williams and Chase Shores pitched, those guys are really becoming weapons. Look, you didn't even have to use Case and Evans. Didn't even have to go to Zach Cowan, Jaden Newt. I mean, so, those guys should be well rested going into Omaha, and you got to feel really good about this pitching staff right now. You just have to. Offensively, the Tigers finished game 2 with 10 hits. This offense has really been good. If you look outside of the 2 games in Hoover, you look at the series like against South Carolina, the one before that, I think it was against Arkansas. This team has been hitting the ball. very well. Now, there's times when they don't score the runs, get the big hits, but like overall, the way they're swinging the bat, really good job. That should have everybody encouraged. So in the postseason, look, the offense has really stepped up. And it's been a lot of different guys. That's what I really like about this. None have been more important, though, than Derek Curriel and Stephen Milam. Look, Curriel, when he kind of slumped at the end of the season, he kind of ran into that freshman wall, right? But once the postseason started, man, he has been unbelievable. So in Supers, he went 4 for 7 with 5 RBI, a double, a home run, a huge home run, by the way, 3 walks, and a hit by pitch. So in the postseason, Derek Curriel is batting .455. He's 10 for 22, 7 RBI, and that's out of, well, he's typically a leadoff. He did bat 7th in game 1 against the left-handed pitching of Griffin Kern, but was back in the leadoff for game 2 against Kartsonis. Got the 3 doubles in the postseason, a home run, 9 walks, and a hit by pitch. Man, he's getting on base a lot. Stephen Milam, 3 for 7 in the Supers, 8 RBI. So in both games, he had 4 RBIs. He had the grand slam game 1. He had the big bases clearing double in game 2, and then followed up by another RBI. So Stephen Milam in the postseason is hitting .421. 8 for 19, 11 RBI, 3 doubles, a home run, 9 walks. Him and Curriel both have 9 walks and a hit by pitch in the postseason. They are getting on base like it's crazy. And that's the thing. It's very hard to stop this offense when those 2 guys are getting it done. Because what it does, it allows a couple of guys to maybe have an off day. You don't want them to have multiple games in a row, especially in Omaha. But it doesn't tank the offense. Like you look at guys like Ethan Fry, Luis Hernandez, they were awesome in regionals. In regional play, those 2 guys were 14 for 31. That's a .451 batting average, 11 RBI, 4 doubles, a triple, and 3 home runs. Okay? They were 1 for 15 this weekend in Super Regional. 1 for 15. But the way that you can kind of count on different guys to get it done is making this offense very dangerous. Same thing with a guy like Dickinson. He had a huge game in regionals. I mean, overall, I think he only went 3 for 15, but had a 2-homer game. As long as you have guys stepping up, having a big game here and there, you don't need everybody to be, on a tear. And that's why I really like this offense and the length that we're getting. But Jared Jones hit 500 on the weekend. All the talk about Jones, I mean, he had I want to say he had a 1 for 4 game with a double and a walk, and then a 3 for 4 game with an RBI and a hit by pitch. So went 500 in the Supers. He's hitting .286 in the postseason. Not terrible with 4 RBI, a double and a home run. But so again, the offense is clicking at the right time. I mean, Stanfield was 2 for 7 this weekend, but like he had 2 big hits, 4 RBI on the weekend, 2 walks, and that's coming off of a weekend in regionals where Stanfield was 4 for 15. So just really impressed with this offense. And I am very encouraged. I mentioned Cooper Williams, Chase Shores. I liked what I saw to Maverick Rizzi game 1 when he kind of came in at the end. William Schmidt, gave up the home run. At times it's like, man, he can't get his breaking ball over. If he can get his breaking ball over, he's going to be tough to deal with because he pitched those that entire outing using his fastball primarily. And that it's a good fastball, but that's not what makes him tick, So got to feel good about where the pitching staff is right now because I'm not worried about Ianson and Anderson the way they've been great all year long. So now I want to point something out. In last night's, Monday, in that game, which was an Omaha clinching win, Derek Curriel, Stephen Milam, and Jake Brown helped lead this LSU offense with 5 hits, 8 RBIs, 3 doubles, a home run, 4 walks, and a hit by pitch. Cooper Williams, hurled 2 2/3 massive innings of relief. Why am I bringing them up? All of those guys that were instrumental on getting LSU to Omaha are all coming back next year. These are all guys that are going to be on the roster next year. And you start looking at what LSU, look, I know we're going to Omaha. We've got plenty to do still. But I was thinking about this the other day, so I just wanted to plant a seed. You start looking at what LSU has returning next year, my goodness, it is very easy to get excited about not only the remainder of this season, but next year as well. You could see, and this is before any changes to the roster. I'm just looking at what's in that locker room right now. You return an outfield of Derek Curriell and Jake Brown, 2 slam dunk starters next year. I think Ashton Larson's going to be penciled in as one of the starters. I mean, he started 26 SEC games as a freshman last year and played in the postseason. This year, more of a reserve role, but everybody believes in that guy. It's just a matter. It's a very good, deep team. But with Stanfield leaving next year and Pearson moving on, you got to think that Larson's got, one of those spots. But even if not, like Curriell and Brown anchoring your outfield, Stephen Milam back at shortstop. Look, Tanner Reeves has played a lot of substantial innings. I mean, he just started a game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him start some games in Omaha. He's back. Ethan Fry I think he's coming back, guys. Ethan Fry, yes, he's great. He's having a great year. But if like Jared Jones didn't go pro last year as a big power hitting, right-handed hitting first baseman, after hitting 28 home runs and making a big improvement in the type of hitter, I don't see what's going to make Ethan Fry. He hasn't shown he can play a position. Now, he's faster than Jones, more athletic, having a great year. I mean, a really good year. But, I think it's way more of a chance Ethan Fry comes back his senior year, shows he can play first base, shows he can maybe play a corner outfield position, and improves his draft status next year. Now, he's got way more leverage this year, so it would behoove him to go this year if offered, but I just don't know that that's going to be – and that's not a slight on him. He's just – this team needs him as a DH, so he's fully capable of playing a position. He just hasn't showed it. I think he's coming back. So you talk about Curriell, Brown, Larson, Milam, Reeves, Ethan Fry, Cade Aaron Beatty. You say what you want. This guy has caught in almost every SEC series, he's caught a game, played a lot of midweek games, been inserted into the lineup in many games, and he's gotten so much better as a defender. The bat's just going to come around. It's hard as a freshman when you're hitting sparingly like this, but he is the catcher of the future, guys. He was a top, was it 12 player coming out of high school last year, and I say this all the time. Out of the top 12 high school players rated by Perfect Game, I think 7 of them went in the first round of the draft. I think 1 went in the second round. The other ones went to college. They were William Schmidt, Derek Curriell, Cade Aaron Beatty, and I believe it was maybe one of the TCU freshmen, and maybe Hunter Carnes, the catcher for Florida State. Yeah, that was ahead of Aaron Beatty. Most of the guys ranked that high were got drafted in the first round or played significant time this year. So he's very talented is my point. Then you start looking at, you got guys like John Pearson who, man, that guy could be the next Tommy Tanks, okay? Now, that's a big shoes to follow, but he's a a very good hit tool, all right? So, you already gotten a couple guys in the portal, but offensively, without a doubt, you've got everything you need coming back. On the mound, entering this year, all right, you were counting on a guy who had a pretty good freshman year, albeit most of his success was in the non-conference, and I'm talking about Cade Anderson, a guy coming off of Tommy John with a 1.5-year hiatus, Chase Shores. You had lost your two starters, Gage Jump, Luke Holman, and your two best relievers in Griffin Herring and Nate Ackenhausen from last year, like that's what you came into this year with, okay? And so you didn't have a lot of proven innings on this team coming back, like starting in like the SEC or pitching meaningful SEC innings. And look what you've done. You've gotten a big jump from these guys, all right? Now, you could see next year, and sure, Kate Anderson, Chase Shores, Anthony Einstein, losing those guys are a big blow, all right? But just stay with me. You're bringing back Kason Evans, Cooper Williams, Maverick Rizzi, William Schmidt, most likely Gavin Guidry, Devin Sheeran. You're going to get back Zach Cowan, guys. Zach Cowan's coming back, all right? Did I say William Schmidt? Jaden Newt, all right? That he's most likely going to come back. That's an incredible foundation. Then you start throwing in, do you see Connor Ware back? Do you see Grant Fontenot, who I think is actually pretty good, guys? He's just not getting a lot of chance. Connor Binge, does he try his hand in the draft as a junior? Guy throwing 97, maybe so. Or does he want to come back and, pitch meaningful innings? I don't know. But like overall, this will be the best returning group of players in the Jay Johnson era. And that's like after a team that just went to Omaha. Okay. So that's rare. Typically you have a team this good, like you lose a lot. So I am extremely excited about what our young players are doing and what you got coming back. All right, let's touch on a couple of things out of the regional, like with West Virginia. I want to talk about the Grant Hussey Twitter drama. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to this, but Grant Hussey was a West Virginia legend, okay? I think he had all the high school state home run records, held the career home run record at West Virginia with 44 home runs over his career. In regionals, he was benched for Ben Lumsden. Lumsden actually he was the big left-handed hitting, I think he was number 37, and he had a couple of big hits in regionals. And then coming into supers, Grant Hussey was benched again for Lumsden. The thing about Lumsden is he's batting like 150 on the year, all right? And he looked really bad at times. He did hit a 2-run homer against, I think it was Ianson in that second game. But what happened was that, so Grant Hussey, I think he might have gotten one at bat, but even when the game was out of hand, Coach Steve Saban was giving at bats, pinch hit at bats to other guys, and Hussey didn't get one in that last game. And he did not take it lightly. I think some of the fans didn't like it, and Hussey kind of made a statement like it was a slap in the face, no words can describe it. Well, Hussey's dad then went to Twitter and kind of backed his son up. So that has kind of led to a firestorm of West Virginia fan bases criticizing the coach. And, I don't know enough about it to say, what was there with not playing your senior guy who's been so good. But I can tell you that there were, and this guy's a good coach, but it's a different vibe than watching the Little Rock coach. He had everybody loved him. West Virginia coach had kind of a different vibe to him, if you ask me. I did think there was a couple of things that were strange. If you look at game one, LSU was winning 3-1, I think. And instead of going to one of their main guys out of the bullpen, it was almost like West Virginia punted, which is fine if it's, further in the game's getting out of hand. But at 3-1, to do that didn't make sense. I mean, and when you look at the fact that his teams, they came back in all 3 regional games. We saw him come back in the 2 games against us. There was a graphic ESPN flash where West Virginia was 26-12 when they had when they were behind at any point in the game. That was the best winning percentage in all D1 baseball. There you are. It's a 3-1 game in game one, and you don't go to Reese Bassinger. You don't go to Chase Meyer, who we actually saw the game two, and he went like 4 innings, and really, while he was in, LSU didn't do a lot with. No Carson Estridge. We didn't see him all weekend. It was just very strange. You went to like Glasscock, and then that lefty that just walked a lot of, I think they walked runs in. I didn't understand the way he handled that pitching staff at all. At all. 3-1 game. I mean, he could have even started the inning with somebody else once he saw that his pitcher didn't have it. And, I mean, as it was, they put up a fight in the game. So I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he didn't bring his better on, but like that was just a weird deal. So a lot of Twitter, drama going on right now with the West Virginia coach, and again the way he handled not just Grant Hussey, maybe some lineup things, but also the pitching staff. So wanted to touch base on that. Now let's talk about Omaha. The Omaha field looks about as favorable as you could possibly want, all right? You go back to 2023 and you look at what LSU had to deal with. You've got the super team Wake Forest in your bracket. I mean, you had a Tennessee team with Chase Dolander. Oh my gosh, he's already in the big, the other right-handed pitcher. I'm losing track right now. Then they had Chase Burns, who had turned into a reliever. They've got all of these talented pitchers, a younger version of Christian Moore and Blake Burke. And, that was a good team that went and won the Clemson. Clemson, was it the Super Regional or the Regional? But anyway, that was a very good team that LSU had to beat twice. I mentioned Wake Forest. The other side, you had Stanford, who was loaded that year. You had Florida, that was, golly, what was that, with Cags and, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me today? The guy who plays for the Rangers, the right-handed bat, he went like third in the draft. Anyway, all of the players that they had, the 2 stud pitchers with Brandon Sproten, Hurston Waldrop, and Brandon Neely in relief. Loaded teams. You had a couple of Cinderella teams like TCU and Oral Roberts, and Virginia was still good that year. But, like, you had that field, all right? You even go back to last year. Florida State, like, that was a wide-open field with Florida State. Obviously, you had Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Texas A&M. They lost the final game by 2 runs. Florida played well down the stretch. NC State was very good pitching. Very competitive field. I don't see that this year. Now, it's good for college baseball with all the parity. You've got like all these different, the Missouri Valley Conference represented. You got the Big 12, the old Pac-12, now the Big 10 with UCLA. You've got an independent team, Oregon State. Who am I leaving out? Obviously the SEC's got 2 teams, but I can't remember if I'm leaving anybody out at this rate. Oh, and Coastal, the Sun Belt. You've got a lot of fun teams, a lot of fun stories, but like when you look at the field, if your goal is to win it all, that's what LSU's trying to do. I mean, you don't want to have to run into the best teams, 7 other killers, and I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I see very good teams. I love Coastal's pitching. I like Arizona. They got some star players in Summerhill and Mason White, and the way a couple other guys are swinging the bats. I like Tony Pluta out the pin and Miles Bailey, the freshman pitcher. I like Arizona's team. I really do. I think that Louisville's got a great offense. I mean, with Monroe and Zion Rose and some of the bats that they have, the way they can steal bases. And look, Patrick Forbes is the first round talent, their ace. But like they lack a lot of pitching. All right. Then I look on our side of the bracket, and UCLA's good. Look, Rock Chalowski at shortstop is a grown man. Roman Martin, the third baseman, those were two of the highest rated high school players coming out in 2023, I think, when they were freshmen. Or was it 2024? Last year, maybe. Got a really good bullpen, but it's not like an overpowering offense and guys coming in that are going to shut you down, on the pitching staff. Very good, very capable, though. Murray State, great story. He can hit the heck out of the ball. But, do you see my point? You have one team there that is like LSU's equal in my eyes, and that's Arkansas. And that's a huge task. They're very good, all right? But, LSU and Arkansas, whoever emerges out of those two teams, I think has a tremendous chance of winning this whole thing. I will say, you get to the finals and you got a 3-game series against a Coastal with the pitching they have, that is a very legit pitching staff, okay? So I'm not diminishing other teams, but LSU and Arkansas are by far the most talented two teams there. You have to like the position you're in. So look, you host your regional. Yeah, it wasn't a super tough regional, but you did get tested, so that's good. You get to super regionals, you play a team that you really overmatched, and they were scrappy, but now you go into the World Series, and look, you've got Arkansas staring at you in the face, but outside of them, this has been a crazy year. So much parity, so many wild things happening. Look, these teams still won, and it's not that there weren't good teams this year. It's just a lot of them lost. So I think this is about as good as you could, a position as good as you could ask for, if for LSU. I really do believe that. And just lastly, with this weak angle of the SEC choked in the postseason, people humility is a big thing. All right. There was a lot of people chirping at the SEC when, a lot of the teams were losing in the opening round and the supers, but the ACC, man, did they choke. They had it on a platter. North Carolina had no business losing to Arizona. All right. Florida State, didn't they win game 1? Or did they not win game 1? I believe they did. I don't remember at this point. But no, they were winning all game. But I think everybody thought that they were going to win that. They were Jamie Arnold, Vellini, Wes Mendez, the starting rotation. They fell in their face. And if Louisville and Miami weren't playing themselves, there probably wouldn't be an ACC team. Then you got Duke gets upset by Murray State. Just, it's just a crazy sport. And this year was a crazy tournament. So you just leave it at that. It doesn't have to be the ACC, the SEC stinks. Look, the SEC is a tremendous team. And if I was betting my life on it, the SEC not only might get their 6th straight year of a national champion, but a 6th different team. So just incredible stuff. So that's going to do it for this episode. Excited about Omaha. Haven't decided if I'm going to come back before the Arkansas game and maybe give a little preview, but hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, I really appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon.